Your son won't allow my kid to play with his VR. Why are you so protective over some toy? Come on, I guarantee nothing bad will happen.
r/entitled parents. Our first story we're reading today, entitled Kid Breaks HTC Vive Controller in Half, entitled Mom Refuses to Pay, from user Tataro. After that, entitled Lady Gets a Ticket and Holds Up Traffic, from user Eyes Only Hacker. And then we'll be finishing up with Walmart Parking Lot Brawl, from user Feral Taxi Vader. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories, and if you're an author who would like to hear your stories on the channel, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And welcome to the newest members of the Re-Army, Ellie, Flower, and Uppity Eye. And if you're new, join the Re-Army by subscribing for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Kid Breaks HTC Vive Controller in Half, entitled Mom Refuses to Pay. English isn't my main language, so correct me for any mistakes. Thanks. This happened about 1.5 to 2 months ago, but I recently found this subreddit and thought about posting this story. Now, onto the story. A week before Easter, we usually do a dinner in my house where we invite me and my sister's godparents and their families along with the kids my parents are the godparents of. I am by far the oldest one, 18, and then my sister at 14. After that, it's 12 and under. So I don't really have anything to do with them, and that's why I hang out with the parents. The way the conversation was going, I started talking about VR and how realistic it is. While I was talking, my godmother's son, who is 9 years old, approaches the table. I'll refer to him as entitled Brad.
What is VR?
It's a headset that you put on your head, and it looks like you are in a different place.
Wow, cool. Can I try it?
I'm sorry, but no.
Why not?
Because you are too young for this. Entitled Brad starts talking louder.
But I want to try it.
Entitled Mom, from the other side of the table, gets up and approaches entitled Brad.
What is wrong, sweetie?
I want to play VR, but he doesn't let me.
Entitled Mom looks at me.
Why don't you allow him?
I'm getting kind of agitated, but I try to hide it. Because the equipment is extremely expensive. HTC Vive with deluxe audio strap and the TP Cast wireless receiver overall costs 600 plus 100 plus 350, so 1,050 euro. And he is too young to handle it properly.
Oh, come on. He is very mature for his age.
I have a flashback from last year where entitled Brad was purposely spilling grape juice on the carpet and then laughing when we noticed it was too late. I still don't want to risk it.
Why are you so protective over some toy?
Calling expensive gaming equipment toys is like a trigger phrase that really kicks up my anger. VR is way too expensive to be a simple toy. And now my mom notices. She gets up and approaches. My mom asks, "What's wrong?"
Your son won't allow my kid to play with his VR.
My mom wants to be a nice house guest and asks me, "Can you please let him for just 5 minutes?" I realize the odds are against me, so I give up. I let entitled Brat wear VR, and I play a small experience for showcasing VR, where he just watches. Midway through the experience, he removes the headset from his head and says,
Next.
"Sorry, but that's it."
But the 5 minutes aren't over. I want more.
I start scrolling through my library to see if there is anything else. While scrolling, he noticed Fruit Ninja VR. This is when things start going south.
I have this on the iPad. I want to play that.
Sorry, but it's too hard for you.
No, it isn't. I am very good on the iPad.
It's different here. Then entitled Brat screamed,
Mom!
so loud that its sound waves were recorded by those whale mics in Antarctica. She storms in my room thinking something has happened.
What?
I want to play Fruit Ninja in VR.
Entitled Mom looks at me.
Come on, please let him. I guarantee nothing bad will happen.
Fine. I proceed to give him the controllers and then try to put the straps on him, but he refuses to wear them. You either wear them or you don't play.
Fine.
I turn to the computer to open Fruit Ninja, but while I was doing that, entitled Brat removes the straps since I wasn't looking. I feel like a fool for not noticing. He plays for like 2 minutes, and then he attempts to slice a fruit, but his hand hits the desk. All the VR veterans out there know that this hurts like heck, even though it doesn't cause anything severe. He screams in pain, and his reflexes make him throw the controller. I see it fly for 3 meters until it falls to the ground and breaks in two. The ring with the sensors and the handle. The noise was enough to make both my mother and Entitled Mom storm in the room. They see Entitled Brat crying, 2 halves of a controller on the ground, and me trying to help the Entitled Brat stop crying. After all 3 of us calm him down, he goes and plays with the other kids like nothing happened. Then just Entitled Mom and my mom were in the room. So, how much will it cost to repair it? I'm extremely angry, but trying to hide it. It's broken in half, so it will probably be extremely expensive. It could cost as much as a new one. Which is? Around €150. Entitled Mom looks at me in disbelief.
Oh no, I am really sorry. Hopefully you have enough to pay.
I was shocked. She was expecting me to pay? My face began getting red, and I was about to start cursing her out. My mom noticed it and jumped in. Why should we pay? It was your son that broke it.
Yeah, but your son allowed him to play this game, and it is your son's toy.
This was it. I blew up.
Now, listen here, you...
My mom stops me. Tadaro, it is okay. I'll handle this. She grabs Entitled Mom's hand and leaves the room and goes to the kitchen. This is how their conversation went, according to my mom. Are you hearing yourself, Entitled Mom?
Very clearly. Why should I pay for the controller? It belongs to your son.
But your son was the one that broke it.
Your son needs to show some respect to the house guests. He was about to attack me.
I can't say she is entirely wrong. My son had to put up with your son, who wasn't able to take no for an answer, and look where that led him. I am sorry, but he did warn you, and now you should pay the consequences.
I don't have to pay for the consequences of your son's actions. We are leaving.
Entitled Mom proceeds to go to Entitled Brat and tells him to wear his shoes, and they leave. At the door, my mom says, I'll send you the bill, and then she closes the door. That's basically it. For anyone wondering, no, she never paid it. The money went out of my pocket, even though my mom tried to pay because she took her side at the beginning, but I declined. This is the first time I've posted other than memes or a question, so hopefully I did good. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this many people to read this. I've seen you guys telling me to take her to court. I did mention that to my mom, but she didn't want to do it due to their history together. Some said that once someone goes toxic, he stays that way. A person that both me and my mother used to trust and admire did something that neither of us will ever forget. That person, though, has realized their mistakes and tries to heal the scars that they made as much as possible. So we now believe that people can change if they want to. That's why I decided to not take her to court, but get some distance from them for a while. Also, about the comments that told me, next time I go to their house to break something, I love stories about revenge, but I don't think I have the guts to take one. I feel like I would be stooping to their level. Next we've got, Entitled Lady Gets a Ticket and Holds Up Traffic. Hello everyone, I have a story that just happened an hour ago, and frankly, still has me shaking in a bit of anger. First off, I am on mobile, so excuse for any formatting issues. Anyways, I'm what's called a lot checker for a parking management company in Seattle. My job means I have to drive around to our various properties and issue tickets on violations. Needless to say, I have a lot of stories, but none like this one due to the ending, which I really feel showed this woman's entitlement. So there are 3 cast members in this little drama. We've got me, we've got the entitled lady, and coworker, my roommate and fellow coworker that mans the booth for the parking lot of a certain stadium that this happened in front of. So to set the stage, we run a parking lot at a stadium with a street that leads into it that is also private property and managed by us. Now on our properties, it is paid parking 24/7, no free hours like city street parking. There are signs everywhere saying you must pay. We even added arrows pointing to the pay station recently because of issues with Amazon delivery. I was on the street checking cars, walking back to the main lot to talk with coworker. In the area I was walking, there was no sidewalk, so I was walking along the side to be out of traffic, when along came our Karen. zooming up behind me and honking because apparently I was in the way of her making a U-turn. This in itself annoyed me, but I stepped to the side to allow her to pass. When I got to Coworker, I turned to see she had pulled into a stall on our street. Coworker and I stood there waiting to see what she would do. Now, it's important to know there is a condo building across the street from where she parked. I watched as a guy came out of the building and approached her car to talk with her. After maybe a minute, she gets out of the car and the pair starts walking towards the pay station. I thought, cool, at least I don't have to ticket her. Oh, if only that were true. I see her look at the pay station and see her with an I don't have to pay attitude and walked across the street into the building with the guy. Well, darn, here it goes. I have to do my job, so I grabbed my equipment and write her a ticket. All this took about 5 minutes. Once it was done, I walked back to my patrol car, which was parked right in front of the condo. Our Karen and her male friend exit the building at that moment, carrying some kind of TV table. Part of me felt sorry for issuing the ticket, as I am sympathetic to that sort of thing, but contrary to belief, we lot checkers aren't mind readers. I know she saw the ticket immediately because she just gave me this hateful glare. I just shrugged it off as a drawback of my profession and get in my car. I pulled into the lot to flip around and exit the property. This took the same amount of time it took them to cross the street, so I came to the exit just as she reached her car, which of course was on the street stall right in front of the exit. I see her start to carry the table to the back of the car when she looks at me and steps back and places the table on the road, looks at me before flipping me the bird and slowly opens her trunk. This became an issue in that it was not only in traffic, but now blocking the exit so that no cars can leave without hitting them. In response, I calmly stopped my car so no one else can get out of the exit and potentially cause an accident. Ma'am, can you please move the table off the road?
I will.
She doesn't move the table. I need you to do it now. No cars can get by without hitting it.
I will when I get to it.
Still standing behind her car, not moving it.
Does it make you feel like a big man, giving me a ticket and trying to boss people around?
Ma'am, I'm just doing my job, and now you're causing a traffic jam. After the entitled lady takes her sweet time moving it, I pulled out my phone and took pictures, commenting to the guy, who had been standing there the whole time, that for his sake, I hope he isn't affiliated with her, because I was reporting this whole issue to the property owner. Finally, the table gets moved and traffic can flow again. But if only this was the end of the story. I had moved on to the next property when I get a call from Coworker. I wasn't there for this, so this is just what he told me happened after I left. Entitled lady approached Coworker, demanding my name so she could report me to my manager. Now that I think of it, she did have the typical,
"Can I speak to your manager?"
haircut. At least in Seattle that I know of, the law states private information does not need to be provided on an employee of a property management company. So Coworker looked at her and said, "Lady, I am contractually obligated not to provide you with his name."
Well, why did I get a ticket? No one else paid.
Rules for our lot says the receipt must be left on dash face up or else it becomes void. This is stated twice on the pay station screen and the receipt. Coworker, knowing this and that I had just checked those cars, responded, "Walk with me and we'll see." They both walked down the street and Coworker pointed to the receipt in every car. She tried to then say she paid. Keep in mind, Coworker and I watched her not pay. Coworker asked where her receipt was. At this point, she must have realized she was caught because she turned and walked back to her car, calling Coworker fad. And that's it. Sadly, no real justice here other than the knowledge she has a $45 ticket. It's unfortunately something I deal with on a daily basis. People seem to consider working stiffs like me as subhuman and blame us for them not reading the signs. Moral of the story, lot checkers are humans too. We get paid to enforce the rules set out by the property owners. Don't assume you know how parking works. Read the signs and don't blame us for the ticket you earned. A lot of times, being nice and understanding of the situation can go a long way to get a lot checker to drop the jerk attitude and actually give you good advice to get out of the ticket. And our final story of the day, Walmart parking lot brawl. So a while back, I posted the story of the time a lady completely ignored her 5-year-old daughter in favor of yelling at my mother. And in that story, I made a passing mention at the time my mom got into a fight with an entitled mom in a Walmart parking lot. A whole lot of people in the comments demanded to see that story, and I'm currently trapped in a boring awards ceremony, so I've got time. This is an incident that occurred before I was born, so I know of it only via my parents' retellings. My mom is utterly mortified and hates talking about it, but it seems to be one of my dad's favorite stories about her, so it gets told. Back when my parents were first engaged, they were just out of college, broke as heck, and living in a crappy apartment right next to train tracks that kept them up at night. Because they were broke, they found themselves having to cut costs on most things, which meant shopping at places that they may not necessarily be a fan of. My mom hates Walmart. She's hated it ever since she saw a lady walking around with practically her entire butt out back when she was a kid, but this incident just cemented my mom's hatred of the place. It was August and my mom headed out to make a grocery run. Dad stayed home doing Lord knows what as Mom piled into their rattling piece of crap car and headed off to Walmart. It was hot that day, and I mean hot. Summers where I live can get to over 38 degrees Celsius, or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, easily, plus humidity with no breeze. You end up feeling like a potato in a crock pot. Your insides melting as your outsides burn. It's utterly miserable. So my mom heads into the Walmart, happy to be there if only because it's out of the heat, and notices with a pang of sympathy that all of the employees are in full-length pants, socks, shoes, and heavy-looking t-shirts. No shorts, no sandals, no thin tank tops. For the cashiers, this wasn't too bad, as the interior of the Walmart was a frigid paradise. But the same could not be said for the poor, unfortunate cart wranglers, whose heavy clothes were drenched with sweat as they were forced to cross the asphalt expenses and round up the silver chariots left all on their lonesome. The shopping goes fine. My mom picks up what she needs, pays, and heads back out into the broiling muck of the outdoors. She loads her groceries into her car and puts her cart back where it goes because it's not hard. As she's about to get into the car, she sees an absolute whale of a woman dump a whining baby into a rusty car and push her empty cart out into the middle of the lot. Mom has worked retail jobs. Lots and lots of retail jobs. What this lady just did was a jerk move, especially considering the fact that one of those cart docks was literally right next to her vehicle. She could have just leaned over her impressive mass about 6 inches to the left and pushed the cart in there. Instead, she shoves it into the middle of the lot, where it will not only potentially impede cars, but will also have to be retrieved by some poor employee who will likely be nearly run over trying to get it because this is a Walmart parking lot and people drive like jerks. So my mom sighs, walks over and pushes the cart into the dock, rolling her eyes slightly as she does so. She's heading back to her car when she hears a door slam and
Hey, you!
She turns around to see this mountain of a woman lumbering towards her, the asphalt shaking as her 5 chins jiggle with every thundering footstep. She comes to halt directly in front of my mother, her maybe 5'10", mass looming over my 5-foot flat mother, the resulting shadow providing a break from the blazing sun. "Yes?" my mother says, very confused. The lady then launches into a tirade. Mom says she doesn't remember the exact words, but the general idea was that this lady thought my mom was being snarky, insulting her somehow by putting her cart back for her. My mom defended herself, saying that she only moved the cart because where it had been was dangerous, to which the woman roars,
Are you saying I'm setting a bad example for my child?
gesturing back towards her rust bucket of a car. My mom then notices that all of the windows are rolled up and she freezes. Like I said, I wasn't born yet, but by this point, my mom knew that she did indeed want to be a mother. So, as a prospective mother, she's even more appalled at this woman's actions than an average person might be. "Ma'am," she says, still trying to de-escalate the situation. "I am not implying that you're setting a bad example for your child. I will say, however, that it's incredibly hot today, so even if it's only for a few moments, you really shouldn't leave your kid in a sealed—"
Are you calling me a bad mother, you little jerk?
This woman bellows, her hands balling into fists. Mom glares. She's been in a bad mood most of the day, so she's about done with this lady. "You know what?" my mom says. "Yes, I am calling you a bad mother for leaving your infant in a car when it's hotter than heck out here. You'd rather pick a fight over a darn shopping cart than stop your baby from being boiled alive? That seems like pretty bad parenting to me." The lady gasps, then socks my mother across the face, hard enough to snap her head to the side.
You little jerk!
she hisses, rearing back for another swing.
How dare you!
She doesn't get to finish the sentence as my mom cuts her off by kicking her in the side of the knee. Hard. I can understand why this lady picked a fight with my mom. She was clearly looking to throw down, and as I mentioned, my mother was tiny. She's 5'0", about 21 at the time, though she looked maybe 18, and fairly skinny. This woman was built like a particularly flabby brick wall. My mom should have been an almost ridiculously easy target, but she didn't count on one particular thing. My mom used to be a farmhand. She did a lot of heavy manual labor. She was much, much stronger than she looked. And being a very small woman who had moved to live near a large crime-ridden city, she had a basic understanding of how to take down someone bigger than her. The whale yells, bending over to grip her knee. My mom takes advantage of the height change to jab her, effectively knocking the wind out of the woman. Before she can get back up, my mom runs to the lady's car and is relieved to find it still unlocked. She rips the door open, pulled the kid and his car seat, which was unsecured, mind you, out of the car, set him down in the shade under the awning of the cart dock so he wouldn't be directly in the sun, briefly checked to see if he was okay. He was. He had only been in there about a minute or so, and then promptly made a run for it, as she didn't want to run the risk of the cops showing up. She knew that she could claim self-defense, as the woman hit her first, and did so hard enough to make her nose bleed. But she also knew that throat punches were generally frowned upon, and that she had got that lady's kneecaps something good, so she didn't exactly want to test that theory. My dad said she came bursting into the apartment, plastic shopping bags dangling off her arms, blood dripping down her face, and her eyes wide and wild as she launched into a tirade about what had just happened. It took him about 40 minutes to stop laughing, and he's never let her forget it.
Take the notification bell for Mr. Reddit, or I'm going to find you in the parking lot and take you out!
And congrats to our re-generals of the day, Detonator Oregon 82, Mickey, and Itachi. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.